What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Christian Hanna Horror here today, guys, and today we're doing our top 5 horror movies of 2019. And I'll say right off the bat, I thought 2019 was actually a pretty good year in horror. I saw some really great films this year, and although I wasn't able to just to see everything that came out, I saw a lot of it. And this is going to be my top 5 list of my favorite movies this year. Could be controversial. Some of them may not be on any of you guys' list. Some of them, my number 5s, could be your number 1s. Some of them, I don't know, maybe some of you haven't seen some of these movies that just weren't nationwide theater releases. But we're going to go ahead and get into it and show you guys my top 5 of 2019. So let's do it. Here we go. The first movie I do want to show, and this will be my honorable mention for a number 6, if you will, that is Pet Sematary 2019. I kind of like this movie. I watched it maybe 3 or 4 times since it's come out, and I've had a pretty good time with Pet Sematary 2019. While I don't love it as much as the original, I think it's actually a decent little remake. They took a few risks where I thought it wasn't necessary, but overall the pictures, it's got the atmosphere, it's got the mood, it's kind of got just the scares. Judd was good in the movie. Not a lot of major complaints about Pet Sematary 2019. It's a fun watch, so if you haven't seen it, or if you've only seen it once or twice, give it another shot. I think this one will get better with time as well. So my honorable mention is Pet Sematary 2019. All right, coming in at number 5, guys, I'm not exactly sure if this movie was made in 2019 or just released to the public in 2019 or what. It might have been made in 2018. It got released to the public this year. Nightmare Cinema, guys. I really, really liked Nightmare Cinema. This is a really fun anthology horror picture that really, really just kind of blew me away. I really enjoyed it. I'm a sucker for a good anthology. I've really grown to love the genre because, if those of us who have somewhat shorter attention spans, what's really nice is you get that big spurt of excitement from one of these, and then you move on to the next one. So, watching these are really fun. I really love it. Mick Garris was behind a lot of this, and you've got some great directors involved with Nightmare Cinema. Joe Dante, especially, he did my favorite one about the plastic surgery. So this is really great, guys. If you have not seen Nightmare Cinema, get your hands on it. A really fun anthology horror movie. Number 4, probably my most controversial to hit the list, but I'm a fan. That's The Three from Hell. I'm a Rob Zombie fan. I've really started to like his Halloweens a lot more. While they're not the highest on my list, and I think John's is the creme de la creme, always will be, I like his movies, but it was really nice to see Baby Firefly and the Midnight Wolfman and Otis return. Obviously, the Midnight Wolfman taking over the spot for Sid, because by the time Rob decided to do this, Sid was just too old. And it's a shame. He has a great scene in the beginning of the movie. He still feels like the captain. And while this movie is not as intense and great, I think, as The Devil's Rejects, it's still a welcomed addition, and I really enjoyed it. As always, Zombie delivers that certain flavor if you're into this type of thing, that really old music from like the 50s and 60s with like the really dark stuff on screen, but with this creepy sense of music behind it. There's something strange about it that just works really good, and I love seeing it. The main scene is basically at the dinner table in the beginning of the movie. Very, very strange. And then when the guy who played the ice cream man, when he comes into the picture as the clown, just really hard to watch. So weirdly entertaining. Zombie does it well. This movie has some definite high spots in it. If you haven't seen Three from Hell, it's definitely worth a watch, guys. The Three from Hell does make my list at number 4. Coming in at number 3, a movie I was sure I was not going to be a big fan of, but I was told, Christian, just check it out, and I ended up really liking it. That is Brightburn. Brightburn really surprised me. I enjoyed it quite a lot, because I'm not into the action. I'm a big action fan. I'm not into the superhero genre. Nothing against it. Just not my typical cup of tea. This was like it was almost like it was made for people like me that don't have anything against it, have tried them, have watched some, was not necessarily their cup of tea, but threw in a lot of horror spice in there. And I got that with Brightburn, and I was extremely entertained. I'd be lying if I said I was not entertained by Brightburn a lot. So I really liked Brightburn, and it has to make my list because I've rewatched it a couple times and have enjoyed it quite a lot. It's really just a dark movie, that really just doesn't hold any punches. So I got to give Brightburn credit for that. Coming at number 2 for me, guys, is a movie that I really love. I can't wait to see more from this director. My number 2 is Midsummer. This movie is just insane. It's so gorgeous. The atmosphere, the cinematography. This is like a movie where you watch it just to experience the scenery, the brightness, the gorgeous crisp of the picture, and there's this really strange, I almost want to say like this hard contrast between how bright and beautiful the imagery is and how disturbing the subject matter is. And I think that's, you know, what Ari did so good with this. And, you know, it's funny, I have discussions with some of my friends, and I think the majority of my friends and me prefer Hereditary a little bit more, but we all agree Midsummer is one heck of a movie. So Midsummer has to get some love and adoration from me. Midsummer is quite an experience. One of the biggest things I see is that people say that this movie is a lot of imagery and like appeal, but not a lot of great subject matter in it. I see the movie as this really dark fairy tale about a girl who's longing to be part of a family and be welcomed and loved, and she finds it in the most dark, twisted way. I see it as this really dark fairy tale. So I see a lot of subject matter with this movie and not just so much substance, style over substance, so to speak. I see a lot of substance with this movie, excuse me. So I really like Midsummer. I think it's a great movie, but I understand why it's not necessarily going to be for everyone. So Midsummer is my number 2. Coming in at number 1, this was a hard one because there's a couple other movies I wanted to either swap in my list or not, but you know, my shirt's giving it away. It Chapter 2 is my number 1. I really loved It Chapter 2, guys. Now, I'm very, I'm not arguing with the people that had issue with this movie, saying that the characters weren't as lovable and as great as the kids in the first movie. Not going to necessarily argue that, although I do enjoy the roles of the adults a little bit more now, especially since a couple rewatches of this, which is quite a task because it's a long movie. This movie, to me, is a special effects extravaganza. It almost has this Tim Burton type look and feel. You know, I've heard some other complaints that the CGI doesn't look good. Why does it look so bad? I thought it looked amazing for what it was trying to do. It kind of had like that dreamlike, long, exaggerated look, like with the leper and stuff. Like, yes, it looks like a character almost from like a live action cartoon or something, and not necessarily like a real guy who's a leper. But that's fine because it matched. It was like a dream state almost. So I loved the look and feel of It Chapter 2. I thought it was, like I said, a special effects extravaganza. It was my favorite movie, but I want to reflect that my list is my favorite, not necessarily what I think is the best, because there were some really, really good movies that came out this year. And I'm a good sucker for, you know, just really good scenes in horror movies with a lot of great imagery and blood and guts and special effects. So I loved, you know, the Pennywise tarantula at the end, or the spider, whatever it was. I thought it was amazing. I was having such a ball and a biscuit with that. You know, I understand some people found it not to be really scary, but I wasn't going to watch It Chapter 2 to be scared. I was going to be entertained, and I was so entertained by It Chapter 2. So it has to be my number 1 on my list, guys, It Chapter 2. So that is my list, guys, for top 5 horror movies of 2019. Of course, it's just my opinion, but I'd love to see what you guys say about this year. I think it's going to be a great way to exchange, to see where you guys fell in, because there's other movies I still haven't seen. You know, for instance, I just got a movie called Trick that just came in. I've yet to see that, and I'm dying to. I've heard some pretty good things and some other not good things, but you know, I wanted to go ahead and make this list because I don't know that I'm going to get time to watch that before the year ends. So, you know, it is what it is. So thank you guys for watching this video. Please let me know your top 5 favorite horror movies of 2019. And until then, we'll see you guys next time.